Okay, so welcome to Julie's Unknown podcast. And my name is Julie. I'm your host. And this is episode 3. So today, it's a big episode. It's juicy. There's a lot of information. May you have to listen to it more than once if you are like me and can't retain all the information the first time you hear it. But we're going to talk all about Venus in retrograde. Because Venus, a few days ago on June 19th, went into the pre-shadow period, and it's going retrograde from July 22nd until September 3rd. So 40 days, and then it's staying in the post-shadow period until October 7th. So I want to dive into this because Venus in retrograde is a big one. And I do also think that there's just sometimes some things that when I read online about Venus in retrograde, it makes it sound a little scary, not gonna lie. And I want to shift that perception for you. I want to have you look at it from a different lens versus like, it's the end of the world, I'm doomed kind of thing. And I will mention a few of the things that I've heard people talk about Venus in retrograde, such as like, don't date, don't enter a relationship, don't do this, don't do that. Oh, relationships, you're going to break up, you're going to divorce, all this scary stuff. And I just want to shed some light towards that and have it show you what really Venus in retrograde is all about and have you look at it from a different lens. But before we get to that, I have a few things I want to talk to you about first. And then I'm going to dive deep into all of that. And I will explain also what is retrograde, about the planet Venus and all that. So if you have no idea about anything astrologically, you'll get some information. And so this is episode 3 of my podcast, and I am really excited about it. Having it on 3 platforms, and so far, like, I am getting a lot of listeners, which is really cool. Way more of a reach than what I was doing before with YouTube. So I am basically in the phase of my business where I'm trying to stick, throw the spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. Realizing Instagram wasn't giving me the conversion that I wanted in terms of clients, because even though Instagram is a platform, I'm using it as a free platform to talk about myself, my services, my business, my thoughts and all that. I've been building that platform for the past 3 years, and there hasn't been much conversion in terms of clients. And so realizing that it's not necessarily letting it go, I'm still showing up there, but how can I direct my energy somewhere where I'm more seen, more recognized, somewhere where that can lead to more conversions? So I'm trying the podcast thing out. I tried YouTube, I tried TikTok, I tried Twitter, I tried all of these, and it was like, no go. So right now, podcast, and so far so good. 2 episodes in, and I'm getting a few views on YouTube. I'm getting a few listeners up on Spotify. Apple has not updated me the analytics yet. It says that there isn't any, maybe because they wait till it gets to a certain amount, or maybe there's a certain number of episodes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how it works, but we'll see. But if you are listening to it on Apple, I would really, really love if you would subscribe, because you can subscribe, but you can choose the option of whether it downloads the episode for you or not. So just to kind of let you know, if you are hesitant on subscribing because you don't want to put space on your phone, you can subscribe, but you can choose not to download. And then whichever episode you are curious about and you want to learn more about, because I am going to be talking about a whole lot of different things on this podcast in itself. That's why it's not called something specific. It's so broad in general. And then you can pick and choose which episode you want to listen to and which one intrigues you and inspires you. You don't have to listen to them all. If you would love to listen to them all, feel free to listen to them all. I, would love for you to listen to whatever you want. And yeah, and I think if Spotify has a subscribe, appreciate if you subscribe there too. And if you can rate it, that would be amazing. Okay. And the last thing I want to talk about the podcast. So I did ask my Instagram followers, I was like, there's a lot of things I can talk about, but what would you like to hear first? Like, and obviously I am going to get to all of these topics eventually, but a lot of it was really funny because a lot of people were drawn to very similar themes. So astrology, human design, which is perfect because I'm talking about astrology today. My story. So I am going to do a kind of series, I guess, where I will be, there's so much to my story and there's so many elements from the time I started my coaching career to moving across Canada out here in BC and what led that move to moving from Whistler to Tofino and what led that move to being without a home for I think it was 4 or 5 months. Yeah, not having a home for 4 or 5 months to a whole lot of like lessons that I've learned. So I am going to actually kind of start it chronologically from the moment my life shifted back in, I think it was 2016. Yes, 2016, September 2016. Yeah, that was when my life really shifted and basically what brought me to who I am today. And so I am going to start in the beginning, but I'll see within those stories, there's going to be referencing into the further past and whatnot, because it's all interconnected. So I am going to be breaking that down into episodes because saying it all in one, there's going to be a lot of things that will be missed, etc. And so there was that. A lot of people wanted information about like also spirituality, talking about like crystals, tarot, and all those things. So yes, I would love to teach you a few things of what I know around spirituality, maybe also some terminology and what it all means. And there was some people actually, this one surprised me, goals and visions. So I've worked a lot with goals and visions. I actually used to do workshops for vision and goals with Lululemon when I worked for them. And obviously the way I had done them in the past was very masculine energy, very structured. Now the way I work with goals and visions, I use it in terms with manifestation, and it is more of a balanced approach of feminine and masculine energy. So taking the action, but also trusting and the mindset behind it. So I will talk. I found that one was, I was surprised people tapped into that one. So I will talk about that one. And then there was some people that actually wanted to learn a little bit about entrepreneurial and coaching. And so I will obviously have discussions about that. And then there was the other topics that I will eventually all tap into: inner child healing, money work, shadow work, all those things. But I think also by me sharing my story, you're going to hear some of the lessons in there and how, I guess, like I've navigated certain things in life and what did I learn from them. And this is how you can reflect on your own life. So that's all about the podcast. Now, the second thing that I would love to talk to you about, and I will be doing this in the beginning of every episode, minus the guest episodes. So I won't be doing this for the guest episodes, but all the other episodes, I will be talking about my offers. And I will start off first of like, what's the biggest offer I'm offering? So right now I am actually offering a pilot program, which is going to be 6 sessions spread over the course of 3 months, 2 sessions a month. And this one is human design in relationships. And this doesn't mean in, like being in a couple. It means like how human design shows up, like how your chart shows up through the other person. And so person that I'm looking for to do this pilot program, or the people that I'm looking for is, someone who has a partner, someone who lives with roommates or lives with their friend, lives with their parents, that are on the daily with someone else. And I learned to apply your human design in real life and decondition what you are being shown through the other. And so it's a pilot program because I want to try it out. I want to see how it shows up for others, because I've seen it, how it shows up for me in my relationship. And I would love to dive into that for details. So if this is something you're interested in, I feel free to reach out. So you can reach out to me 2 ways. Go on Instagram, Julie's Unknown, send me a DM, or you could send me an email, which is juliesunknown@gmail.com. I will have this on the show notes so you can tap into that. And then the other thing that I will talk to you about is I do have space for human design readings, tarot card readings, and I also have space for one-to-one deep dive client coaching around inner child healing and shadow work, which is the program called In Darkness There Is Light. So I'd also include all the details of that in the show notes. If you are interested, let me know. You can go on my website. I do have forms for the one-to-one coaching. So you would just apply through there in terms of tarot card reading, human design reading. It goes directly into a Calendly link and you could just go ahead and book. If you want to know, if you want to get a feel of what it's like to work with me, I recommend either doing the pilot program, if you feel called to it, the human design relationship program, or the tarot card reading. These are the lowest offers in terms of one-to-one, but I also do have digital downloads in the workshop section of my website. And then that's where you can go and check out what digital downloads. I'm adding more to it. Right now, there's 2, inner child healing and money work. The next one I'll be adding shortly, the next week or so, will be one on forgiveness. And there'll be more added as we go. And then there's also a freebie in there on intro to shadow work. So that's if you are curious about shadow work. So different ways to tap in at different price ranges, even free stuff. I might add more free stuff to my website, like more free digital downloads as I feel called to it. But right now there's one. And that's it. So that's basically it. I am just going to take a moment for a second. So, sorry about that. There was something in my nose. Okay, let's get started. Let's get into this juicy topic. Venus in retrograde. Okay, so what is retrograde? Retrograde is basically the planet moves slower than its normal speed, and it appears to be moving backwards because its speed is slow. Some people say, oh, retrograde is a planet moving backwards. A planet can't physically move backwards. It just moves in the direction it moves. It just goes slower, and it goes so slow that it looks like it's going backwards. When retrogrades come up, it amplifies or it reveals what needs to be worked on, what needs to be healed, what you need to kind of navigate. It is things that have already existed, but it amplifies it. So in a way, it's more in your face. Now, you could still choose to heal it. You still have a choice. You still could choose to heal it. You could choose to face it, or you could choose to avoid it. If you're not ready, that's okay. You can, avoid it, not heal it, whatever. And then there'll be another opportunity where it will show up for you to heal it, whether it is in another retrograde, maybe whether it is during eclipse season or Scorpio season, or maybe another time when nothing's happening astrologically, and it will show up for you to face it. But that's what it is. It is things that already exist. So already exists within you. It is not anything new, so to speak. So I will be kind of going into more Venus retrograde, and you will kind of understand where I'm going with this. Venus rules Libra and Taurus. So what are we going to see in this retrograde, or what we see in any Venus retrograde, is themes around relationships, but like not just like partnerships, but also co-workers, friendships, etc. Love, beauty, and money. So you are going to be seeing themes around that. That is what Venus is all about. Common themes in Venus in retrograde, before I really go into like this deep dive, there's going to be common themes, and this is like, I do want to talk about this. Okay, so people do say generally to avoid anything beauty related around Venus in retrograde. So Venus being like the planet of like beauty, maybe avoid haircuts, kind of going into anything like, getting laser hair removal or anything like that. It might not go the way you would like it to go because the planet is in retrograde. So if possible, avoid it. If you need to, get a bikini wax because you're going to the beach, go for it. I can't tell you what to do, what not to do. So this is just like little suggestions, little tips, but use to your discretion. And yeah, it just, sometimes it could be a giant miss high five in terms of that. And you may not get what you expected or what you wanted. Might be a disaster. I would generally, if I were to avoid anything, would be like haircuts and hair dye. If you're a girl, like, well, even if you're a guy and you're, haircuts and hair, like dyeing your hair, because I feel like, especially dyeing your hair, I feel like that could be a little bit of a disaster during Venus in retrograde. But other beauty things, use to your discretion. Getting your nails done, I will use that to your discretion. I mean, if they fuck up, like, it's not the end of the world, I guess, depending on what they fuck up on. But it's not like, it's not going to be like super bad. It's just aesthetically, it's not going to look what you thought or what you expected or what you would have liked. It wouldn't go the way you planned it to go. But it doesn't mean you're going to lose a finger. Like, that's not what I'm saying. It's more like the aesthetics of it. In terms of beauty. But so I would just generally avoid it if you can. If there are certain things that you like to get done, like your nails every week, continue to get your nails done every week. I'm not saying to like all of a sudden like change up your routine and like just like stop your self-care. No, continue your self-care. Just be a little bit mindful of like which beauty appointments, which things you do, like especially if you're dyeing your hair at home, maybe be a little bit more mindful about that. The other thing they say about Venus in retrograde is don't get into a relationship. So I actually do want to really talk about this because it's having, now I'm in a relationship, but I mean, having been gone through the dating scene quite a bit, is that sometimes you just meet someone and you're like, I'm curious to see where this goes. And okay, yeah, if it's in Venus in retrograde, go for it. If you feel in your heart and in your intuition that there's something there, that this feels right in the moment, go for it. Whatever comes out of that relationship, whether it ends, whether it blossoms, like whatever, like there will be lessons, as there's lessons in every relationship. And that will be just a challenge that you go through for you to grow. So if you're feeling it, go for it. They say during Venus in retrograde, the rose-colored glasses are on. So you're not seeing things clearly in terms of like attraction, right? So if during Venus in retrograde, you are attracted to this person and whatever it is, their personality, their looks, etc., and then after the retrograde, you're like, maybe not, then it is what it is. It's like you will go through the ups and downs and the learnings of it all. and the challenges, because you will grow as a person. So if you want to date and get in a relationship, go for it. And learn from the lessons, learn from what you are meant to learn from it. Also, like, kind of going into every relationship as this is the one, it's a very high expectation. So if you just go with zero expectations and that you're here to learn, you're here to grow, you're here to heal, then that's what you'll be shown. And if it ends up being the one, amazing. And if it ends up not being the one, you still learn something from it about yourself. So that's what I wanted to like go on a rant about for that one. The other thing, yeah, so you are going to see, as I said earlier, themes around money, relationship, love, and depending on your birth chart and where certain planets are located, which I am going to tap into towards the end. I am going to give you like guidance for you to kind of tap into to see maybe what to expect during this time. And if you are with a partner, you can maybe look at their chart to see like what themes they will be going through. And so this is the beauty that you can kind of like understand what can possibly come up for them. We are in the shadow period now, so you may notice some themes already coming up. So pay attention to some of the challenges around relationship and love and money and see what is coming up for you now. And that will be potentially amplified when it actually goes stations retrograde on July 22nd. And so let's talk about the money section first before I get into like the relationship and the love, because I feel like that's going to be the biggest thing I'm going to be focusing the podcast on. So the money themes that you may or may not, it doesn't mean everybody's going to face money challenges during Venus in retrograde. Some may face money challenges, some may face love and romance challenges, some may face both. It really, everybody's on their own journey in their own different path. So again, I'm just going to throw this out there because I didn't throw it out there earlier. This is my perspective. This is what research I've done and how I understand astrology based on also like the work I've done in terms of like healing and deconditioning and all that. So take what resonates, leave the rest, all good. So money, pay attention to what upsets you around money during the retrograde. So terms of spending, what is upsetting you around spending? Where are you getting triggered around it? So is it, the gas prices, the grocery prices? Is it your bills that upset you? Are you spending money in things that you don't actually need or want? Are you spending things on things you actually like desire, but there's guilt associated to it? Where is there, I guess, a negative emotion associated to spending money? And that is what you want to look into when it comes to that aspect. So that will be amplified during Venus in retrograde. So pay attention to that. And so if you're spending on something that doesn't feel good, one, it could be, how can you let that thing you're spending on go? Maybe it's something that you're not meant to spend your money on. Or how can you shift your perception on that thing that you are spending? So two ways. If it's something you cannot let go, such as rent or mortgage, how can you shift your perception on it? Is it that you could say, okay, I'm releasing this money because it is providing me a home. It is providing me a roof over my head. In terms of gas prices, How can you shift that and saying that this is what's putting in fuel in my car and it is getting me from point A to point B? And then how can you play around with the manifestation and the universe, for example? So whatever you release, I like using the word release money, and it's something I've heard from Amanda Francis, and it resonates a lot more than like spending or buying. I find release is just, it's lighter. So you're releasing money to bills, you're releasing money to food, you're releasing money to clothes, to, buying gifts, whatever it is. How can you shift that mindset and saying, well, you know what if it comes back to me tenfold? What if it comes back to me in other ways I don't expect? What if I receive this money back from the moment I release it? And you can play around with the manifestation around that. And if there is a hesitation of not believing it, then you can look deeper and ask yourself, why do you not believe this is possible? Why do you not believe you can receive money tenfold? Do you believe that you are not worthy of it? Do you believe that it is something that, you don't have evidence? But then why do you need evidence for it to happen? These are a few questions to dive in terms of releasing money. And then when it comes to receiving money, this is where also there might be some themes that you might encounter during Venus retrograde, which is receiving, like, let's say somebody just gives you $100 or buys you food, buys you groceries, buys you dinner. Are you hesitant in receiving that? Does that trigger you? Does that upset you? Does that make you feel guilty? Do you say, no, I can't receive, I can't take this. I can't take this. Why? Why is it a hesitancy? Why are you unable to receive it and be grateful for it and say thank you? So this is where you can dive deeper into that and see what's there in terms of that aspect around money. There might be other money themes getting brought up, maybe around debt, credit card, loans. If there is, again, any associated negative emotion, guilt, remorse, anger, being upset around it, beating yourself up around having debt, get curious about that. The other thing I'm going to say, money, such as debt, such as loans and payments and bills and all that, is all neutral. It is only us, each individual, that puts a negative or a positive connotation to it. So if you take away the emotion around it, if you take away the negative or the positive aspect around it, the actual word in itself is neutral. So debt is just borrowed money. There's nothing wrong or nothing amazing about borrowed money. It just is. That's all it is. And the same thing with money. Money is just is. It's not positive or negative. We're the ones, through our experiences, through what we've been taught, through the environment, of how we put the negative or the positive connotations to it. So if there is a negative connotation to some of the themes around money, especially that come up during Venus and retrograde, see how you can get from a place of negative to neutral, because it is a little bit difficult, in my opinion, to go from negative to positive, because it feels like you're basically doing a huge jump. Not saying it's impossible, but it could be a little more challenging in the mind. So best to try to go from negative to neutral and then neutral to positive as you begin to heal and shift your mindset. So, if you've always been taught that having a credit card is a bad thing and credit cards are bad, then it might be really hard to get to a place of like positivity of like, oh, credit cards are amazing. They're so good. That's a little difficult. So how can you reach the middle ground of like, credit card is just borrowed money? in that neutral. Is there interest? Yes, but that's all there is. Just get to a neutral place. And so that is all I'm going to talk about of money. I don't want to go too long about it because I do love talking about money, but I just wanted to keep it short and sweet. So now I'm going to dive into the relationship, the dating, the love, the romance, the pleasure, the passion of Venus in retrograde, and it is under Leo. Leo being a fire sign, very fiery, pride. There's a lot of pride associated with Leo. A huge heart. And there may be, I'm not gonna lie, because Leos are dramatics. There might be some drama and reactivity during Venus in retrograde under Leo. Maybe, not necessarily, maybe. It is gonna definitely challenge you in matters of the heart. That's what it is gonna challenge you on the heart, the emotions. And we are getting a taste of it now in the shadow period, and the shadow period is in the season. We are in the season right now of Cancer until, it goes retrograde. That's when Venus is going retrograde under Leo, but it also is during Leo season. And Cancer's ruler of emotions, water sign. So themes around that are going to pop up in your relationships, in dating life, and all relationship, friendships, coworkers. So this is where it is important to listen to the heart and what the heart needs. Things are going to pop up, and at times it may be overwhelming emotionally because of how Venus is going to showcase this. And I think the biggest thing is to really look within you, listen to your heart, listen to what your heart says, express your emotions. There's nothing wrong in expressing your emotions. You don't need to hide. And there might be actions that you will be asked to take, but this will all be actions from the heart. It won't be actions from your mind, be actions from the heart and your intuition and what you feel it is right for you. So Venus in retrograde is going to bring up patterns, old patterns or things that need to be healed. And if you are single and you're in the dating scene, this is where you can pay attention to noticing old patterns, noticing either what type of people you are attracting. So you're attracting, the same type of people, rebels or people who are unavailable or, emotionally or actually physically unavailable, such as being married. Are you attracting, people who are afraid of commitment? Are you attracting to people who are codependent? Are you attracting people that are clingy? This is where you can look into who are you attracting and what kind of patterns. But it's not the only thing to look at. It is also to look at what kind of patterns are you are you going through in the dating scene? Is it the same thing? Are you, for example, going on 2-3 dates and then it's over, and then you go meet another person and you're going on another 2-3 dates and it's over? So pay attention to those themes. And this is where you could go deeper and ask yourself, well, why are these themes coming up? And what is it about these patterns that you are being shown? And most of the time it's a mirror. So it is not to say, oh, whatever the other person's doing is right or whatever. Definitely acknowledge the situation. If you are being treated like shit, for example, acknowledge that. And that is a fact, that you are not being treated well, or that something happened negatively and it is not good. Acknowledge that, ride the emotion of that. Once you've gone through that emotion and rode through that, then and you've come out of it in terms of, in a way, accepting that that's what it was, and that you felt exactly how you felt and that there was nothing wrong with that, then this is where you can look at, what was it teaching you? What are you here to learn through that? And most of the time, people are a mirror to us. So this is where you can look at, if somebody didn't want to commit to you, and this is where, you can look at in your life, where are you hesitant to commit? Where are you hesitant to commit to yourself? Where are you hesitant to commit to other things? If you attract people who are emotionally unavailable, where are you emotionally unavailable? Or are you actually ready to allow someone in? Sometimes we think we want a relationship, we think we are ready for it, but in actuality, we're not. And so this is where you can get really real with yourself and really check in. And because it is in Leo, it is not that time where you're going to be sitting back and, journaling and la la la. This is going to require you to take action. So the beauty of this is, yes, you're going to sit and you're going to reflect, but then it's okay, how can you take action from the heart? How can you move forward through this to heal? And it may not necessarily happen in the midst of right away on July 22nd, you have this lesson and you reflect on it. And July 23rd, you're I'm ready to take action. This might take time. The retrograde is until September 3rd, and then the post-shadow period is till October 7th. So honor the flow of emotion, right? Ride your emotional wave, ride through the process of it. Don't feel like you need to get it all done right away. Honor your emotions and honor what you're going through. And instead of taking action from the head of what you think you should do, go in and listen to your heart. And this is where you can tap into meditation. You can journal, you could go out to nature. You can definitely talk to a therapist, a coach for guidance. But it is very much going in and listening to what your heart says versus what your mind says. Because sometimes your mind stays too much in the logical, thinking that is what is right to do based on what we're logically thinking, but it is actually not necessarily what your heart wants. And so this is where you're going to be paying attention to those things. Now, the other thing of paying attention during Venus in retrograde, because it's going to be under the Leo sign, is pay attention to the drama, the reactivity, codependency. So where are you codependent? Where are you leaning onto other people because you feel like you cannot do it yourself? And codependency is not necessarily, it's not leaning to people for support, right? It's not that at all. It is, you're leaning to them for the wrong reasons. It's not oh, I'm running this business and I need to hire the people out, an admin assistant or whatnot for my business to thrive. That's not codependency. Codependency is, I'm leaning onto you because I don't believe in myself I can do it. Because I'm afraid of XYZ if I do it on my own. That is codependency. It is leaning on to others out of fear, out of not believing in yourself, out of feeling you're unworthy of something. Codependency comes up obviously in relationships. That's why it's called codependency. It comes up in relationships. It comes up in friendships. It is basically using other people to either fill a void, for example. Like, so let's say if you have a fear of being alone and you're continually surrounding yourself with people because you're afraid of what's going to happen if you're alone, that's where codependency comes in. And so this is where you want to pay attention to that, because whatever it is, whether it is patterns, each person's going to come across Venus in retrograde differently. So whether it's patterns, codependency, drama, or reactivity, whatever it is, it's going to be amplified during Venus in retrograde. And as I said earlier, you have the choice. You can choose. You don't have to look into it. You can just ride the wave and sit there and just be on the ship and just ride the wave and not look at it, not heal it. And that's okay. If you're not ready for it, that's cool. You don't have to. But the lesson will be shown to you at another moment in life. So you have the choice. You either tackle it now or you tackle it down the road. You choose. And then, yeah, so then there'll be like drama, reactivity. So I do want to talk about reactivity for a second. So reactivity means that basically something happens, an incident will happen, and you get triggered by it and you react in high emotions right away. So there might be a lot of that. There might be something that triggers you and then you go, you react right away. You're like, And so this is where you can pay attention to, like, why did that trigger you? Why did you react? Reacting. Okay, so yes, paying attention to the reaction. Why did you react? Pay attention to the trigger and then reflecting on, okay, what do you need to do now moving forward? Is there an apology to be made? Is there a conversation to be had? Is there boundaries to be set? What's your next step? Again, this is in Leo, so you are going to be required to take action. Reacting to a trigger is not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It is what it is. It's neutral. We are human beings. We are going to react. Obviously, the more you learn about your emotions, the more you learn about yourself and your triggers and your wounds, then you practice that emotional intelligence. Then down the road, you react less and less to certain triggers because you are working on them or have healed them. But there's still going to be other things that you're going to react to. Now, obviously, if you react to anything and like to all the things, which that can also happen, you don't need to sit there and tackle every single reaction to heal, because that's overwhelming and that's a lot. So in Venus in retrograde, pay attention to the big reactions. Pay attention to the ones that, the explosions, the ones that come in anger, the ones that, you know, have jealousy or guilt, like the really big ones where you react and you're upset. And those are the ones that you want to dive deeper into as to why you reacted. And how you can dive deeper into it is, when was the last time you felt this way? As chances are you felt this way at one point. So when was the last time you felt this way? And go back, go as far back as you can. And then that's where you can find the starting point. And you'll realize that your reaction isn't actually reacting to the present thing. It is a belief within yourself, or a view of how you see yourself, or how you feel about you. Because it all starts with you. And this is something I tell my clients over and over. I've had clients come to me for various of things that they want to work on, whether it is like, you know, food habits or relationships. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not here to sit and fix your relationship or your food habits. I'm here to work on you. And by working on you, it's what ripples out to the rest. So this is where you can look at, when you react to something, it's because there's something that you don't believe about yourself, or there's something how you view yourself, or there's something about how you feel about yourself So this is kind of going in, and how can you show love to yourself? It is Leo, so it is matters of the heart. It is going to be, in that aspect, like, if I were to recommend inner child healing, I will recommend inner child healing during this during Venus in retrograde, because you're going to be sitting there and you're going to be looking at your inner child. You're going to be going into your heart and how you view yourself. And that is what it is here to show you. Every challenge, every trigger, every reaction, every drama situation, it is not there to tear you down. It is not there to, fuck your world up and be like, you deserve this, blah, blah, blah. No, it is there to show you about you, so that you can love you, so that you can show up for you, so that you can feel worthy of you. That is there to show you. And that is what gets mirrored back, right? So the more you believe you're worthy of yourself, the more you fall in love with you, the more you take care of you, the more you feel who you are in a positive way, the more you attract that into your world, right? Law of attraction. So this is what is going to come up. It's going to come up in these challenges. And recently somebody did a tarot pull for me, and it was like, said it blank out, like, these challenges are not here to tear you down. It is here to shift so that you can build a stronger foundation for your life, stronger foundation for you, stronger foundation for your business, for your relationship, for your friendships, for your coworkers, for your money. Stronger foundations. It is shifts, and these shifts allow you to build this. So this is how you can shift your perception of what's happening. And it doesn't mean that, for those of you who are in a relationship and you're listening to this, it doesn't mean that there's going to be a divorce or a breakup. Can it happen? Yes, but a divorce and a breakup can happen any time of the year. What Venus in retrograde is here to show you, it is amplifying the things that need to be worked on in your relationship for yourself. So it is all in terms of you. And if you are in a relationship, it's going to be themes that will come up. It is themes that have come up before. And maybe before they were minor, maybe before they were a whisper, maybe before you pushed them under the rug, didn't want to deal with, and Venus in retrograde is going to amplify them. Or it could be themes that from a previous relationship being shown into this one. So similar triggers, similar wounding, maybe like you were in one relationship and someone, I'm trying to find a good example here. So if you were in a previous relationship and basically like that relationship that you were in, that person never showed gratitude towards you. And now you're in this new relationship and this person's showing you gratitude and you're like, this is amazing. They're nothing like the other person. But then Venus in retrograde comes in and there'll be that one time that they didn't show gratitude for something you did for them. And then you get triggered because you're like, oh my God, like the previous person didn't show gratitude and now I'm in this and they're not showing gratitude in this situation, and you get upset. So this is where you can take that and begin to heal that based on what I said earlier of like looking in within you and matters of the heart. And diving into like, well, where are you not showing gratitude for yourself? Where are you not showing gratitude for other aspects of life in your life? That's one example. Another example that can be, oh my God, I need to come up with more examples before I record this podcast and try to come up with them on the spot. Oh my God. What another example could be of old themes coming up. Communication. Okay, this is a big one. All right, communication. So if you feel like, your partner, for example, there were certain things your partner in the past didn't communicate to you about, like your current partner. So this is how it can show up. Venus in retrograde will amplify that. And it'll be something like maybe a bigger thing that your partner should have communicated towards you, like, or that you felt that your partner should have communicated towards you and they didn't. So before they were like small, minor little things. And then, maybe in the retrograde, it will be something bigger. Or it could be like, if it coming from a past relationship, maybe you were in a partnership before this one, that individual did not communicate with you at all. You were left in the dark for a lot of things. You felt like you needed to like pry the communication from them because they didn't communicate at all. And then you come into this new partnership where they do communicate. Maybe they over communicate, maybe, or if over communication is a thing, I don't know. But they do communicate, but maybe in Venus in retrograde, you might see a theme where there were certain things that maybe they missed on communicating with you. And so then you get triggered by that because it is coming from a past relationship. So this is where you can focus it again, back on you. Back on you. Ooh, okay, a ramble. Okay, there's gonna be, I'm gonna just, I kind of spoke a lot about a lot of things. So I'm gonna take a little break from that. And I'm just gonna throw in a few little like guidance points for you. How can you look into themes for yourself in terms of your like birth chart, astrology chart, but also some reflection. So the last time Venus went into retrograde in Leo was summer of 2015. Summer of 2015. So you might want to look at what was happening in that summer. Were you in a relationship? What were some of the themes that got brought up during that time for you? If you were not in a relationship and you were in the dating scene, what were some things that got brought up for you? If there was any money themes during that time, maybe reflect and see if you can remember back as to what happened in summer 2015. Right. Because there might be some themes that might come up in this Venus in retrograde to, give a final closure of that. So if it was like, if you were with an old partner at that time, maybe you haven't fully let them go. So maybe this Venus in retrograde might be, the theme of like, fully letting them go and moving on from them so that you can create space for either more space for the current person that's in your life or create space for the new person that's meant to come in. It could be, also any closure on emotions from that time frame. It could be closures on patterns, on, maybe it was a pattern that started then. And, for the past like 8 years, this pattern has been repeating itself. And so maybe it is to finally finish that pattern off. And so, yeah, so reflect on summer of 2015. What else am I gonna want to share with you? Okay, so the fixed signs are the ones that are going to feel it the most because it is retrograding under a fixed sign. So Leo is a fixed sign. So fixed signs are Leo, Taurus, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So if your sun or rising are in any of those four, you are going to feel it the most. If you want to dive deeper in, so this is where you can look at your birth chart. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, or if you're watching this on YouTube, like put comments wherever you're watching it. Feel free to message me on Instagram if you are confused with anything I say. And if you know me in person, feel free to come and ask me about it. Send me an invitation. I would love to chat with you more on how to give you guidance with this. So if you know when you were born, like the time, this is what's important, the time is important, then you could go get your birth chart. Your birth chart, I like using astro-seek.com, or I even use the app, what's it called? Time Nomad is an app I like to use. I use the tropical charts in whole houses. That's my preferential, but you don't have to do like whole houses. You could definitely do the other version. Can't remember what the other version is, but that's one I prefer to use. To me, it's more clear. Whole houses are clear. But if you don't want to do whole houses, that's all good. You could just go to AstroSeek and you go onto getting a birth chart and you enter in your date of birth, your time, your location, and in there, you're going to get a birth chart. So here's what you want to, and this is where you can use Google to give you guidance. Google is amazing for that. And how you can look at the themes that you may expect during Venus in retrograde. So there is, I'm going to give you a bunch of different ones, and you can pick whichever one feels right. You can look into all options if you are a Mani Gen and you're like, I want to like look at all the things. If you are, maybe a generator or a projector, and you feel like you get overwhelmed when there's too much information, maybe just focus on one and go intuitively, whichever one feels right for you. I'm a projector and I also looking at all the things as well. So again, depending on, deeper part of your chart. If you are a manifestor and you don't want me to tell you what to do, that's all good. But I love you manifestors, and obviously, like, again, take what resonates, leave the rest. So you want to look at which house Venus will be retrograding under. So you can look at, so there are 12 houses and you can look at the themes of each house. So for example, you can Google like first house astrology, second house astrology, and there will be themes. So basically, depending on your rising sign, then Venus will be retrograding on their specific house. Okay, so here's how I'm going to explain it the best so you can understand. So you're going to look at your birth chart and you're going to see where Leo is. So look at the Leo sign and you're going to see what house that's under. And then you can use Google and you're going to Google what that house means. So first house, second house, third house. So like, for example, second house is all about money and materialistic things. Third house is about communication. Fourth house is the home life, the mother life, like the mother, like, themes around mother or a father. Fifth house is a house of pleasure. Sixth house, health and debts. Seventh house, love and relationships. Eighth house, death and rebirth. Ninth house is travel, luck, fortune. 10th house, public image, work life. 11th house is friendships and community. 12th house is the unknown and the dream world. Just went through that. And the first house, I forgot the first house. First house is you and your public, like how you appear to the outside world. So again, Google it to get more in-depth information. So that's one way to find out, because wherever Leo is, under which house it is, that is where Venus is going to be retrograding. Now, the other thing, so this is going into the deeper depths of a birth chart. And so if you are looking at AstroSeek, there is going to be on your right-hand side, it's going to be a column and there's going to be the planets, and next to planets, there's numbers, and the numbers are like, it'll be like 10 degrees, 12 degrees, 15, 20 degrees. And so you want to look at that. So you want to look at which planets are in Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio. So you look at the planets that are in Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio between the degrees of 12 and 28. And that is where you're going to see bigger themes. So this is really going into the depths. If you already know about astrology, this is, I recommend for those who already know about astrology to really look into this. If you're new to it, maybe just go with the first version of it, of what I explained. And yeah, so you want to kind of go look into that. And so that's where you're going to look at themes. And then what you can do is Google the planets and see what are the main characteristics, and you're going to see themes around that. So for example, if you don't have planets in some of those signs, and that's, there, you don't need to worry about that. You can kind of like completely disregard. But like, for example, if you look at and look at what house that planet is under. So if you have like, I don't know, a 12 degrees in Pluto, which is in your 8th house, then, your themes are going to be around like probably like maybe sex, death and rebirth, letting go, kind of like, the death and rebirth, meaning like, what is it that you need to let go of for you to evolve to a new version of you. And it could be very heavier because it's like Pluto is Scorpio, so it could be heavier themes that might pop up. If it is Venus, then you will see themes in relationships. If it is in relationships or money, and if it is in your 7th house, then you might see that as well. So that is how you can dive deeper into that. What else? What other guidance? I think that's it. I think I riffed off well. So if you have, again, any questions, if you're watching this on YouTube, share in the comments. I respond to my comments. If you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, feel free to send me a message on Instagram in the DMs, or you can even go to my website and send me an email, a form, whatever feels right for you. If you love additional guidance, I shared in the beginning of different ways we can work together, different ways you can calibrate to my energy. So if you do want support during this time, if you are feeling a lot of themes are coming up now and you're like, Julie, I need support, like, let me know, and let's see how we can best work together and see like what aspect, like which area, how can I support you during this time and what works for you where you are at, emotionally, mentally, etc. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. This was a very in-depth and juicy podcast, and I had tons of fun creating it. And so I am looking forward to creating more and more of these types that are fun, that are enjoyable, topics that I love to talk about. And that is all. So have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, wherever you are, whatever time of the day you're watching this, and I will speak to you soon. Thank you again, and subscribe, like, comment, share, do all the things. I appreciate it. I want to get my podcast out in the world and have more and more people listen to it, because the more people listen to it, the more lives I can impact, and that to me means a whole lot. So that's it. Bye.